I'm not sure anything's more in character than the way I've made videos over the years to abruptly take like a month and a half off and then come back and make a new video to talk about new stuff and carry on like nothing's happened, but that's really where we're going to jump in today. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to talk about the new Vendread support announced for Power of the Elements. I've got some other videos that I'm working on as well, because one of the things that's really kind of kept me intrigued with the game while I was taking a bit of a break is a lot of the new support that's coming down the pipeline for some legacy archetypes and fan favorite archetypes seems to be really cool. Now, I don't think it's necessarily going to make any of these decks meta, although I will point out that Vendread has a bit of hype because of these new cards, and I've already seen some videos circulating of people doing all kinds of crazy combos. All those online combo videos that you see, while cool, are not always as practical in actual game state scenarios as they are when you're kind of playing against low-level decks on, EDO Pro or what have you. But people are excited, and understandably so. Vendread's a really cool concept, and they have never really done anything to give them cards that are viably competitive. They kind of got forgotten about after like a set or two, and for some TCG exclusive archetypes that does happen, but I'm glad to see that they are revisiting it. So if you're unfamiliar with Vendreads, basically it's a zombie ritual themed archetype, and they don't have a ton to go with currently. A Vendread Savior is an existing card from Battles of Legend Heroes Revenge a couple of years ago. It's probably the best piece of support they have, although it's actually unironically sort of a really good piece of zombie support in general, so it's hard to say that's their claim to fame. But obviously this is a card that you'll want to keep in mind as we talk about this new support. It's already started to go up, and it does only have the one printing, and I think that it will play a big part in Vendread's sort of viability along with some of these new cards as we jump in. Now, Vendread Core is also an already existing card that came out, I think it was back in Extreme Force. It's probably their best standalone sort of monster, of which there's only like 3 or 4, but it's basically self-reviving, and it does give your ritual monsters that you summon protection from targeting, which is a really useful tool to have, especially when you have to invest the effort into those ritual monsters. So Vendread Core is another one I would keep an eye on as we look at these new cards today, if you're wondering, what might be worth picking up, what might be worth chasing down, or just being aware of. And REVENDREAD EXECUTOR is honestly the only ritual monster that they have out of the 3 that I think is even remotely decent, and I'm just kind of hoping that the new one, and maybe in combination with some of the other ritual support we've gotten since these came out, will do more to elevate the deck, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. REVENDREAD EXECUTOR is a really solid card. While it's on the field, your opponent can't target any cards you control with card effects except this card, and then if it's destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect, you can add a Vendread card from your deck to your hand. So it offers blanket protection to everything but itself in terms of targeting, which is nice for like not having your monsters be pinged off, not having things like Cosmic Cyclone, Twisters, whatever, pop your spells and traps, but it's just been so outpaced in the way the game is today with like build-a-boards and negation that it's really hard to play through or establish any type of strong board. So these are just some of the highlight cards that exist for Vendreads currently. With that in mind, though, let's jump into the new cards that are going to be out in Power of the Elements, starting off with SCARVENGER. Now, this is the one that people have hyped the most, and I can kind of understand why, but we'll go through it together. It's a level 6 dark zombie monster that says as follows: if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can add one Vendread spell or trap from your deck to your hand. If a monster or monsters on the field is tributed while this card is in your grave, you can banish one other zombie monster from your graveyard, special summon this card, and if you do, you cannot special summon monsters except Vendread monsters while this card is face up in the monster zone. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn. Now, one of the things I'll point out first is that the add one Vendread spell or trap from the deck to your hand isn't exactly some kind of game-changing effect, because there just aren't that many good Vendread spell or traps. I think counting the ritual spells, there's like a total of 5. So it's not like you have a massive card pool that's going to allow you to search all your answers, but it is nice consistency for the deck to get access to what you need when you need it. The self-reviving is pretty cool, especially because it's not limited to zombies, so it's just if a monster is tributed, you banish a zombie monster. We all know with things like Zombie World, making everything zombies is not a hard thing to do. And when it does revive, you can link it into a Vendread Savior right away, meaning you're not locked into Vendreads for the whole turn. And if you're playing zombies, having this as an additional piece of sort of recursion is definitely a nice thing to have. It's pretty good. It looks like it has a lot of potential as a combo piece to sort of allow you further laddering and allow you further board management without having to waste additional resources, which is obviously prime in the way the metagame is today. I think it's going to be really solid. I just don't know whether or not it's going to be really solid in VENDRRAD or if it's going to function as more of an engine piece. But let me know what you guys think about this card. Definitely one to keep an eye on, and it's got some really cool art too. I just want to show it a bit of love and appreciation there. Pretty happy to see that VENDRRAD is getting some more support. Now, Ravenous Vendread is a new ritual spell that they got, and this may be their best single ritual spell. This card can be used to ritual summon any Vendread ritual monster. Special summon one Vendread monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard in face-down defense position except Vendread Scavenger, then ritual summon one Vendread ritual monster from your hand or graveyard by tributing monsters whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster you summon, including that summoned monster. As far as I know, this is the only ritual spell that actually special summons a monster from deck as its first point of activation, which is cute to notice, and honestly, pretty good in general. But basically, for what you're doing with this, you're specialing a Vendread from the deck, and then you're immediately going into a ritual summon, which is a good way to get SCARVENGER in grave without having to sort of expound your entire hand on resources, especially because, as we just established, SCARVENGER can revive himself, and the window of timing in which this works with him, you know, being in grave, you will be able to kind of make these combos work really easily. I also think the fact that this, you know, doesn't have to have exact levels for the ritual definitely helps, because sometimes with the new ritual spells or ones that they'll give like some additional effects to, they want you to tribute monsters who's exact, which can be a lot more limiting. I know a lot of the Necros cards are like that, although not all. But this is really neat. A ritual spell that summons from hand, deck, or grave and then performs the ritual summon. Definitely the kind of support a deck like Vendread would really benefit from, versus something like Drytron, which would just be absolutely broken, getting a piece of support like that. You know, special summon a Drytron from the deck, then ritual summon a monster. Like, that's a whole nother thing. Although I would suppose maybe they don't have a ton of targets if you're using a ritual spell that's not Meteonis Drytron. But we're getting into theory crafting, and that's a whole nother conversation for another video at this point. I like it a lot. I think it's really good in terms of what Vendread already has. It's a really solid piece of support, but again, I just question how much it's really going to push the deck forward. I'm not an expert on Vendread, so I'm really just kind of objectively reacting to these cards based on looking at the rest of the archetype. If you guys think this card is just nuts and I'm missing something, let me know, but I think out of the two so far, SCARVENGER is definitely the more intriguing of them. Alright, and lastly, we've got Vendread Scavenger, which is a level 8 ritual monster. You can ritual summon this card with any Vendread ritual spell. During the main phase, quick effect, you contribute one zombie monster. This card gains attack equal to the tributed monster's original attack until the end of this turn. If you control Revendread Slayer, and this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So Revendread Slayer is another one of the ritual monsters that they have access to, and while it's not incredible on its own, it's definitely a solid piece of support that the rest of the archetype has interaction with in some way, and this is an additional sort of self-reviving. But here's my problem with it. The self-reviving is cool, but it doesn't do anything. Like, the attack boost is nice, and I'm sure there's ways to kind of OTK by just making a bunch of ritual monsters, but this has no protection, and most of the other ritual monsters don't either. So, like, yes, if you have Executor out along with this, you can set up a way where your opponent can't target this, but it's a whole problem for the deck that they just don't have what it takes to compete in today's meta, despite being a really cool concept with some awesome pieces sort of lined out waiting to be, you know, utilized in the right way. So while I like it, I just think it's underwhelming, and I think it's going to not really make much of an impact, even if we are seeing some wild combo videos and stuff going around. So overall, just to give my wrap-up thoughts here, I think this ritual spell is really solid. I do think it's going to be good for Vendread. I think the monster is where you're really going to see people looking. I think it's a really, really strong card, a good piece of zombie support, but also solid for Vendread in the sense that it does get you an additional resource, it's self-reviving, and makes it easier to get multiple ritual monsters out on the field in a turn, which obviously helps further their win condition. So that's going to do it for this video, guys. Let me know what you think about the new Vendread support. Are you excited about it? Are you thinking that it's probably just something people are hyped about because people love the archetype and it's new and it's going to just mostly fly under the radar once it comes out? Or am I totally missing something here and this is going to be the next big thing, which I don't expect, but, you know, I want to see what everybody has to say. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the video if you did enjoy it, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.